Hello and welcome to Mrs. Law's class. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to calculate simple interest. Now, interest is a fee that is charged by a financial institution or a bank when you borrow money from them. However, it could also be the fee that you receive from the financial institution when you invest your money there. So the money that you borrow or invest has a special name, and that money is called the principal. Now, when we talk about borrowing money, there are two groups of people involved. First, we have the borrower, that is a person or group who borrows the money. And then we have the lender, which is a person or an institution who loans out the money. It could also be a friend, a family member, or a bank. Now, there are two ways to calculate interest. The first one is called simple interest, which we'll expand on in this video. So simple interest is the amount of interest you pay or earn, and it's calculated only based on the amount of money that you borrow or invest. So that means that you only have to pay or receive interest on that sum of money that you borrow or invest. The second type of interest is called compound interest. Now, to calculate the amount of interest you pay or earn, it is calculated based on two things. First, same as simple interest, it is the amount of money that you borrow or invest. But the amount of interest is also calculated on the interest that accumulates on this money. So you can think of it as you're getting interest on top of the interest. So for example, say that you invest some money for 5 years. So for simple interest, you only get the interest paid at the end of the 5 years. But if you calculate something with compound interest, you might get something paid or interest paid at the end of 1 year, and then you're going to add that back to your original principal, and then you're going to recalculate it for the next year. So you're paying interest or you're receiving interest on that new principal, which is now a higher amount because the interest is now included. Since this lesson is on simple interest, when is simple interest typically used? Well, in one instance, it is used on loans from family members or friends. Another instance is for loans or investments of a year or less. So because the time is so short, banks tend to use simple interest. Simple interest is called simple interest because it's simple or easy to calculate. So first, we take the principal, which is the amount of money borrowed or lent, and then we multiply that by the rate of interest, that is agreed upon between the lender and the borrower, and then we multiply that by the number of years the money is borrowed. So this gives us a formula that interest is equal to P times R times T. Or some people remember this as I is equal to PERT. So I is our interest, which is a dollar value. P is the principal. And some people actually also call this our initial amount, because that's how much we start with. And then we have our rate of interest. Now the rate of interest has to be written as a decimal. And then finally we have time. Now, the rate of interest is usually given in years. So because rate of interest is in years, our time also has to be in years. Now, one more thing before we do some examples is sometimes you'll read some questions where it says per annum. And per annum is kind of a fancy way to say per year, which means annually. So let's take a look at some examples. So here we have a question where we have to find the simple interest if $2,800 is borrowed for these 3 different times of year and also 3 different interest rates. So the first one here, we have 3 years at 6.5% annually. So the top here, I'm going to write I is equal to PERT so that I have something to refer to. Okay, so I'm going to say that I is equal to our principal, which is $2,800, times our rate of interest. And remember, we moved this over 2 decimal places. So this will be 0.065 times our time, which is 3. So we just have to type all of this into our calculator. And we get $546. So nice simple one. So let's go on to the next one. So here we have I is equal to, so same principal amount of $2,800. Our interest rate is 9%. So again, we're going to move it over 2 places. So this will be 0.09. Now this time, our time is in months. So in terms of years, that will be 5 over 12, because that's 5/12 of a year. So calculating all of this, we're going to go 2,800 times 0.09 times 5, and then you divide that by 12. And so for this one here, when you type it into your calculator, you get $105. All right, for this last one here, you can see that we actually have specific dates. So from September 17th to December 18th. So we need to count each of the days for each month. So in September, we're going to start at September 17th, and we're going to go all the way to the 30th, because September has 30 days. So this means that we have 30 minus 17, and usually people think it's just 13 days. But because we need to also include September the 17th, we need to add another day, and this will give us 14 days. And then we have October, and we know that October has 31 days because of Halloween. And then November, it alternates back and forth. This will be 30 days. And then December, because we're only going to December the 18th, we have 18 days in December. So totaling up all of our days, we have 93 days. Excuse me. So now we're going to use our formula. I is equal to 2,800. And we have 4.7%. So moving it over 2 decimals, we get 0.047. And then times 93. And this is divided by 365 because that is in days. And again, typing this into our calculator, we get $33.53. All right, let's take a look at 2 more examples where we're going to calculate something besides interest, but we're going to still use the I equals PERT formula. So in this example 2 here, we have the simple interest, which is $12,000. It's a loan over a period of 18 months, and we get an interest of $2,295. So what is the rate? So here we are looking for R. So I'm going to write my formula down first. I equals P times R times T. So my interest is $2,295. I start off with $12,000. R is what I'm looking for. And my time is 18 over 12. So we're going to have to do a little bit of algebra here. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply both sides by 12. Or that's what I would like to do, so I can get rid of the fraction. You can also multiply by the reciprocal, or you can divide by 12,000. I've just chosen to multiply by 12 first. And remember, we only need to multiply it once on the right side because the other operations are also multiplication. So here we have 12 times $22.95, and we can type that into a calculator, and we get 27,540, and that equals these two numbers here. We're going to take those two and multiply them. So our 12,000 times 18, and that will give us 216,000, but we still have our R. And so to isolate our R, we're going to divide both sides by 216,000. And you type this into your calculator, and you're going to get 0.1275. Now, interest rates are usually expressed as a percentage, so we're going to also times this by 100, so we now get 12.75%. All right, in example 3, we have an investment of $560, and we want to earn $10 interest. So this time we're looking for how many days, which is our time, will it take if the simple interest rate is 4.8%. So again, we're going to start by writing our I equals PERT formula. Our interest that we want to have or earn in the end is $10. Our principal is 560 times 0.048 times t. So to isolate our t, I'm going to divide both sides by 560 and also by 0.048. We're going to do that on both sides. Now, be careful that when you type this out, you're going to go 10 divided by, and either type in the denominator with brackets because we need to have the 560 times by the 0.048, or you can multiply it first and save the number, or we can go 10 divided by 560 and then also divided by 0.048. And when we do this, we get 0.37 years. Now, the question is asking us for how many days. So we're going to multiply this by 365 days so that our time is 136 days. And that's how you can use the I equals PERT formula. All right, finally what I want to show you is how to calculate our future value. So when you borrow money, you don't just pay back the interest, you need to also pay back the original amount that you borrowed. So this sum of the principal plus the interest is called the future value, or sometimes people call it the final amount. So our final amount is equal to the principal plus our interest. So how much we originally borrowed plus the interest that is charged. So here is an example. So Jane borrowed $1,000 from her parents to attend university. How much will she have to pay back in 4 years if they charge 3% simple interest per year? All right, so we have I equals PERT. And let's calculate how much interest she has to pay first. So principal is 1,000 times our rate, which is 0.03, times time, which is 4 years. And this one we can actually do without a calculator. So 1,000 times 0.03 is 30, and then 30 times 4 is $120. So there is an interest of $120. So the amount that she has to pay back is the original 1,000 that she borrowed plus the $120 interest. So she now has to pay a grand total of $1,120 back to her parents. And that's how you calculate the future or the final amount.